From Mountain Home to Raft River, we've got all the District 4 analysis you'll need to know. This is the Magic Valley Prepcast with Scott Burton.
Hey, that's right. Welcome in. Magic Valley Prepcast, back and better than ever. We're going to build it back better. We took a little break for all of the winter sports state championships, but as the calendar flips to spring, we're back every week. Every Thursday, approximately sometime between 3:30 and 4 o'clock is when we'll get this bad boy started. On Thursdays, each week here on IdahoSports.com. This is your one-stop shop for all the biggest stories going on in District 4 athletics week in, week out in the great state of Idaho. My name is Brandon Baney, but the guy you heard teased in that really cool intro is our Magic Valley resident and expert. It's Scott Burton. Yo, what's up, Scott?
Brandon, boy, just seamless little break we have from basketball into spring sports. It doesn't end, does it? How you doing?
Yeah, I thought at least I would have a little breathing room, but let's see. The last boys basketball games were Saturday. The first baseball and softball games were checks notes Wednesday. That's 3 days, 3 calendar work days of rest.
Yeah.
I mean, give me a break.
I know. I've got a softball game going on right now.
Why did you had a doubleheader with Bishop Kelly yesterday? So Scott, for those that don't know, is the athletic director at Jerome. They just played a doubleheader with Bishop Kelly yesterday. And
baseball did. Baseball was doubleheader with Bishop Kelly, and softball last night was at Century.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah. And so softball, you can get away with a lot more than baseball, with pitching. But yeah, our girls went up there and won big at Century, 28-6 and then 28-0. And then now they've got Skyview at our place for one game. So we'll see what happens there. That's going to be that's a quality team right there.
Skyview is very good. So very interesting. And already baseball, Bishop Kelly, they've been at state for 5 million years in a row. So already scheduling the best for your baseball and softball program, Scott.
Yes, we got to get that out of the way, Get a good solid non-con, and then not that people in our conference are not good because they are. I mean, when you got a Twin Falls and you got a Minico, always perennial favorites. Man, it just doesn't get very easy. So we'll just play it a game at a time, see what happens, and hope the arms hold out.
That's right. Well, as we get into the spring sports season, of course, we're going to be talking baseball and softball and track and field, tennis, and golf for our smaller schools. Friendly reminder that 4A and 3A golf is in the spring, not in the fall, like the 6A and 5As. And so if there is a cool story happening, if there is an inspiring story happening, if there's just somebody, a team, an athlete, a coach, something that you think isn't getting enough credit, enough attention in the Magic Valley, you can always drop us a line, Brandon at IdahoSports.com. Scott at IdahoSports.com as well. And drop us a line and we'll dig and see what we can figure out. But really, this show doesn't happen without the fans sending us, hey, did you hear about this? That happened in Buell last week. Or, hey, check this out. And so it's kind of the lifeblood of the show. We try to find the interesting things out there. But, I mean, the Magic Valley is expansive, Scott. I mean, you heard it from Mountain Home to Raft River in the intro there, and from Sun Valley all the way down to almost the Nevada border. I mean, that's where the Magic Valley stretches. So, I mean, there's a lot of area to cover, and without help from the boots on the ground, as it were, it's hard for us to get to everything. So
it's got a team in every single classification. 6A all the way down to 1A. Right. So their stories abound, and man, and we've had some really, really good ones over the years as we're in the end of year 5. I don't know, is that what we're at?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
5. Yep.
Yeah. So there has been some absolute awesome stories. And again, that's what sets this apart from everything else. And, our community has been great with all the sharing of information, the rallying around each other, those kinds of things, man, keep them coming.
Yeah, 5 years. So we had the redshirt year, Scott, and then our typical 4-year college career. And I've got an application into the NCAA to see if we can get a COVID year, a 6th year for COVID. We'll keep you posted.
Well, hopefully we don't expire after that. we can find another loophole and keep it going. Stay on as a grad assistant or something. I don't know.
I mean, we learned that guys can go get drafted into the NBA draft and then come back and play college basketball this year. Baylor did that a couple months ago. James Najee. Yeah, anything's cool now.
I don't think rules really apply to anybody anymore in the
No.
world we live in. It's black and white, whatever. It's gray at best.
Yeah, let's color outside the lines, have some fun. So before we get to all that fun spring sports stuff, though, we did want to take one last look back at all of the winter sports championships that took place over the past 3 weekends. It was girls basketball and then wrestling, boys and girls, and then boys basketball. It's kind of all in a row there. And so we figured we would hit all the highlights from the Magic Valley and just kind of statewide, just kind of catch you up in case you've been out of the country or you've been living under a rock or something, or you're like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot the state championships were taking place. This would be kind of your catch up on everything that happened, Magic Valley and otherwise. So with that, Scott, are you ready to go?
Let's do this.
Okay. Biggest story by far from the Magic Valley in the winter sports championship season was Minico Wrestling once again winning a state championship. I mean, it's just incredible what they've been able to do at this point, Scott. We talked about it a lot on our Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast. None of the so-called experts on the show, plus myself, I'm not an expert, but none of us picked Minico. Some of us picked Nampa. Some of us picked Lakeland. Some of us even said Middleton might be sneaky. And yet, after all of that, it was Minico once again at the top here, Scott. Look at that. They end up winning with 189 total points, despite only having one champion, Scott. That's really hard to do, to win first place with only one individual champ.
Well, that just shows you the depth of this team, because a lot of the times you see these champions, teams, put up 3, 4, sometimes even 5 individual state champs. And when you do that, you are tough to beat. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're deep in all weight classes. But to do what Minico did with one champ and then a bunch of placers, they do it the right way, which makes them really difficult to contend with. And that's why they're, perennial contenders every year. I mean, it seems to be the same cast of characters, and Minico is right there in the mix every single year. And the thing that's impressive about them is it's not about having one class that comes through and everybody is, gets those once in a while. But this is longevity, man. This is something that is year in and year out. It is a culture. It is a program. And I was talking to Clay today, their coach, and he told me to remind you that, or to give you a hard time because you didn't pick them. And so I said, all right, I will make sure and tell Brandon.
I earned that.
Yeah. You pick against him all the time now if he's going to continue to win. But I was supposed to tell you that. But boy, what a great job by Minico as a team to do this. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, pretty awesome. So 9 placers, 1 champion overall. They hold off. I mean, this was pretty competitive. The top 5 were all fairly evenly bunched there. Lakeland, Blackfoot, Middleton, Nampa, and of course, Minico at the top of the heap. Scott, here were the individual champions from the 5A ranks. You see a lot of Bishop Kelly on there. They were more of we've got a lot of champions, but not a lot of depth. You saw Nampa perform somewhat well with 2 champions. Minico's 1 champion came at 138 pounds. Jarrett Robinson. Way to go.
Yeah. And you talk about this team and you hit on it again about, how Bishop Kelly is, they've got some superstar wrestlers, but the depth is where it's at. And you talk to Clay about this team, and it's, they know every year that they've got a chance. Some years the chances are a little bit stronger than others, but, coming into this year, they knew that maybe this team wasn't as talented from top to bottom as past years. But right around the Wiley Dobbs tournament is when they could sense the change. Something was a little different about this team, and it was really kind of hard to put your finger on it. They were still doing it the Minico way, working hard in practice, and they were still doing all that. But as the season went along, that is when they started to realize, what, they didn't have the egos. Everyone felt part of the team, whether you were a freshman or a senior. And then you step back and you look at these guys And it was how much they actually cared about each other, and nobody really wanted the spotlight. They were coachable, and as they grew in this journey, they just got better and better, and that's where their depth and their strength, comes from. They were gaining on some teams that maybe were ahead of them, but it was that family brotherhood, that atmosphere that really did carry them through. And I know we talk a lot about this through, all of these prepcasts when we talk about championship teams, and it holds true for every single team. I don't care if it's basketball, wrestling, checkers, it doesn't matter. If you're gonna have drama, you're gonna have infighting, you're gonna have somebody that's kind of hogging the spotlight and wanting all the accolades or whatever, and you don't have that closeness or that family dynamic. Well, I mean, look at the pictures. What's for dinner? You guys getting in the hot tub tonight? I mean, those kinds of things are what build that bond. And if you don't have that, then you can be the most talented team in the world, and you're going to get knocked off because you don't really have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So among all these pictures we see of them close-knit and together, Scott, another thing that'll build team bonds is a long road trip somewhere. You'll notice in this picture, you see all the green in the background. This is actually at Lakeland High School in Rathdrum, which, is not close to Rupert at all. So this year, some of the classifications, 4A and 5A especially, tried to hold for the first time kind of unofficial dual team championships, where you're basically going head-to-head with one other team instead of a big tournament where everybody can steal points from everybody. And so Lakeland hosted the kind of unofficial 5A dual championships this year, and it was pretty much just the North Idaho teams. Nobody wanted to come up to North Idaho except Minico. Minico made the trip up there, Scott, from Rupert to Rathdrum is 610 miles, 9 hours in a car. So on a bus, you got to imagine 12 hours broken up over a couple of days at least. But a long road trip like that is also going to build those team bonds.
Yeah, you're either going to love each other, you're going to hate each other. And fortunately for Minico, they went the right way with it. And you're right, those kinds of experiences, and that's part of the journey, and teams that kind of come out on the other side of things, they always have a journey. They always have a story to tell, and it's never easy. And this is where I think a lot of kids and even sometimes coaches miss the boat on it, is because they expect everything to be easy. They expect everything to go smoothly, not to have any bumps in the road or adversity or some major catastrophe in the season to deal with. But it's really not about those things ever happening, because they're going to. It's going to be, how are you coming out of those things, and how do you handle them, and what lessons do you teach your kids about those things? That's where the champions are made. It's not about having an easy season. I mean, we've seen teams that are so talented in basketball and football that basically just roll the ball out and they just destroy everybody. Well, yeah, you're going to get that once in a while, but you're also going to get those teams that are so much more talented getting beat because they don't have that adversity, that ability to adapt and overcome, those things. And absolutely right, they go through it as well.
So here is the championship banner and that first place blue trophy. These are the placers from Minico. They had 9 placers overall, so they're not all in this picture here. And then, of course, the entire team that went down. And again, in terms of number of athletes competing at state, I think Minico had the largest contingent of any Class 5A school. So that was also, part of the success, certainly. And so all of these pictures are from head coach Clay Robinson. We really appreciate all of the pictures that he sent. So this is the more buttoned up championship, pose and celebration and whatnot. And then afterwards, there was some good old fashioned horsing around, it looks like, also, Scott, here. So. Oh,
absolutely. You got to, we would love to caption these pictures if we knew what in the heck was going on, but wrestlers, they're their own breed. They are a case study. So who knows? But yeah, have some fun, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think one of the traditions is after a team wins a title, they will try to take down their coach with a wrestling move, right? They'll try to pin the head coach. So that's always a lot of fun for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For Minico, Scott, this is their 10th state championship. The earliest came all the way back in 1962. The most recent one was this year, of course. And just thinking about recently, Coach Robinson has now won 4 championships in 5 years at Minico, which is pretty impressive. They have almost won basically, 5 in a row. They were disrupted last year. They lost to Bishop Kelly by less than 10 points last year. And then very famously, they had that tie with Bishop Kelly 2 years ago where they each scored 248. They sawed the trophy in half, and each team took one half of the trophy home. They were co-champions that year.
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy how close, especially those two teams have been over the past several years. BK, Minico, Minico, BK. And every once in a while you throw in, like a Nampa, who's really has a strong program. But, year in and year out, Minico, BK. And they have the same kind of battles in football, and don't tell me those two things don't correlate, because they most certainly do, and we've seen it on the gridiron and on the wrestling mat with both of those schools.
Minico has won 6 of the last 10 wrestling championships as well, going back to 2017. They won in 17, 18, 22, 23, 24, and now 26. So pretty darn impressive there for the Minico Spartans wrestling program for sure. So as we go through the rest of the wrestling results here, Scott, we'll just kind of go classification by classification and then kind of just tell you big overall storylines and then any notable things that happened from the Magic Valley. So let's just go with 6A, Scott. We only have the one 6A team. It was Canyon Ridge. You don't see him here on the team totals. Meridian sets a new record with 18 placers at state. That's just an asterisk. So you think about what Minico did. Minico had 9 placers, and they ran away with the title for 5A. Meridian doubled that. They had 18 placers. That's just crazy.
I mean, look at the margin of victory. I mean, that is ridiculous. 164 or 134 points, from first and second. My goodness, what a dominating performance.
Yep. From the Magic Valley, the big storyline, though, Scott, is we take a look at the individual champions from the Class 6A ranks. You see from Canyon Ridge, Sean Hall, your state champion at 157 pounds. Now, all season, Scott, this was the storyline. All season, Sean Hall had been wrestling at 150, one weight below. He decided at districts, you know what, I'm going to go up a weight class so I can take on the number 1 wrestler in 6A at this weight that's also in my weight class, James Hansen from Madison. And he said, I'm coming for you. And he beat him at districts, he beat him again at state. And so for Sean Hall to voluntarily move up a weight class so he could battle the absolute best and then beat him twice, pretty remarkable story.
Yeah, that's Vision Quest kind of stuff right there. So, yeah, and that kid's been a stud all season long, and just the epitome of trying to push yourself and understanding if you are going to be the best, you got to beat the best.
And then we found out on our Idaho Mat Chat State recap show that after he had beaten James Hansen again at state, Sean Hall's grandfather actually pulled Hansen aside after the match and had a long talk with him and said, hey, you're a great young man. You competed really well. So it's kind of a rivalry, but there's respect there from both camps as well. So that was the cool part there with Sean Hall. And again, just the wrestling fans that I've talked to have said this is something they're going to be talking about for a long time because nobody knew this was coming at districts except Canyon Ridge. And then all of a sudden he shocked the world.
Imagine everybody else in the state sitting at the 157 rank, and all of a sudden you're like, what? And your whole game plan changes.
Yeah, pretty epic. So congratulations to Sean Hall there, state champion. 4A, Scott, our highest placing 4A team was Buell, coached by our good friend Fred Bartlett, and they ended up with 3 state champions and 5 placers overall. So they got the absolute most out of their placers. They finished 6th overall. And if we look at the individual champions from Buell, you see them Raiden Pugsley at 150, Fabby Pierce at 175, Porter Higley at 215. Those are all names we recognize from football and other sports like that. But 3 champions from Buell. Very nice to see at the 4A level.
Yeah, great job by Buell. I mean, that's another strong wrestling school. They are, perennial favorites to take home a state trophy, every single year. And so three state champions, that's pretty impressive. It's impressive to have one, but to have 3, my goodness.
It'll be interesting to see when they move down to 3A next year, how that impacts wrestling and everything like that, because 3A has what we would call a dynasty right now, the Malad Dragons. 200. Gosh. You talk about blowouts, 264.5 points for Malad, 2 champions, 12 placers. They win by almost 100 points over second place Kellogg. Our highest finishing team from the Magic Valley finished outside the top 10. Ended up being Declo. And then you see there our state champion from the Magic Valley was at the lightest weight, 98 pounds, Daniel Duke from Declo. So,
wow. Yeah. Good job. And it's been interesting following all the sports in this 3A classification now that Declo and Wendelin has kind of joined this crowd, and to be looped in with Malad. I mean, they're finding out in a lot of different sports that Malad is pretty much a juggernaut in high school sports, and wrestling is no different.
Yeah, Malad, very, very talented. And then the girls, Scott, this is still in all open classifications. You got 6A teams mixing it up with 1As. It's just a totally open classification. It is an absolute free-for-all. Eagle wins a very tight matchup with 116 total points. The top team from the Magic Valley was Buell, again, coached by our good friend Fred Bartlett. 1 champion, 2 placers, and at state, that's good enough for a 7th place finish because everybody, it's so not watered down, but it's hard to get, like, the champion had 6 placers. Like, that's like an absolute dominant amount of placers because every school is competing. The spots are so precious. It's such strong competition that, yeah, you could have 2 or 3 placers and finish in the top 10.
Well, and you also have to consider, too, that the numbers on these girls' teams aren't quite where the boys are, so they're working with less bullets in the gun, so to speak. And to have that many hit the target, I mean, that is impressive, and there's a couple of teams in there with 6. I mean, you mentioned Eagle and Cuna and all those teams. I mean, Buell, 1 champ, 2 placers. That's still impressive.
There is a strong push to split this up into 2 classifications, large school and small school. We'll just have to see how that goes throughout the offseason, but I think that would help make things a little more fair for some of the smaller schools. Right now it's hard for them to really compete. Individually, Scott, from the Magic Valley, our champions were Olivia Bestacek from Jerome. No surprise there. She was the champ at 140. Roxy Sheen from Buell at 155. And Sarah Torabau from Oakley. Scott, let's start there because anytime an Oakley Hornet is winning a state championship in an all-classification type tournament, that's an eyebrow raiser for sure. And then when you factor in the girl she beat at 170, Molly Alagi from Skyline, a nationally ranked wrestler. She had dominated the weight all year. She was the number 1 seed coming in, the Molly Monster, they call her. Nobody had beaten her this year. Sarah Torabau says, that's nice. Here you go. And she ends up winning the state champion over Alagi from Skyline. Just an awesome story.
Oh, that is the story. You talk about a David and Goliath type of story where she didn't stand a chance on paper. It was already done. Why even wrestle? Just, hand her a 2nd place medal. But to step in and do that and be completely undaunted by a nationally ranked wrestler who had not been beaten and take her down in the state final. I mean, my gosh, what a story she'll have to tell the rest of her life.
Yep, pretty awesome. And then even more news came out after state. Scott, she is signed with Western Colorado University to compete in their women's wrestling program. That's in Gunnison, Colorado. Elevation of 7,723 feet, according to that graphic there, which is that is the Rocky Mountain High for sure.
Oh, gee whiz. Talk about getting a hard time breathing. Boy, your lungs are going to be in great shape training at that elevation.
Yes. So congratulations to Sarah Torabau for not only winning a state championship, but getting a scholarship to go wrestle in college as well at Western Colorado University. Just awesome to see. We love that for sure.
Absolutely.
The other big story, Scott, for this year and next year, the three names: Kiana Conrad from Blackfoot at 135, Olivia Bestacek from Jerome at 140, Roxy Sheen from Buell at 155. They had all kind of floated amongst those middle weights all season long. Sometimes Conrad and Bestacek would be in the same weight class, and they'd wrestle each other. Sometimes Sheen would be in there. They all ended up, just by, I think, guessing and kind of just good fortune, ended up in 3 different weight classes. So they were all able to win the 3rd title of their high school careers. And now next year, Scott, those 3, Conrad, Bezdacek, and Sheen, will attempt to become the first Idaho girls in sanctioned wrestling history to go 4 for 4 in state championships. And so everybody's like, hey, let's just have this agreement next year. Conrad, Bezdacek, Sheen, all different weight classes again. So all 3 can, go 4 for 4. We don't want to see them, facing each other necessarily. So that is, and for 2 of those 3 to be from the Magic Valley, Bezdacek from Jerome and Sheen from Buell, I think that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And those 3 are on a text thread, making sure that you're all tracking each other. What do you weigh this week? What classification? Okay, we're gonna time this out and we're gonna get it right. Because seriously, as joking as that is, it would be a sad situation to put 2 of those in the same weight class, especially when they are 3 of the most dominant wrestlers. Well, they are the most dominant wrestlers in the state of Idaho, bar none. And they're all going for a 4-peat. And the interesting thing is, for at least I can speak for Olivia Bezdacek, or at least her story, is that she's won 3 in a row. And there has been only one other person in recent history memory, or that I know of, that was a 4-time individual state champion in wrestling. And that was Zeke Williamson. And Zeke Williamson is Olivia's coach. So there's a little storyline right there that we're kind of keeping an eye on.
Pretty cool. And you're talking about at Jerome.
Yes.
4-time champion Jerome. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Pretty epic. So again, that's going to be the big storyline coming in next year. Those 3 could be the first in sanctioned wrestling history to go 4 for 4 in state championships. All right. Well, from girls wrestling to girls basketball, Scott, we're just going to share the brackets and kind of show you what happened. We did not have any Magic Valley champions in girls basketball this season, but we still had some pretty strong performances. 6A, we didn't have anybody here, Scott, but fans might be interested. Eagle ended up beating Middleton pretty decisively in the championship game. So I know a lot of people were kind of on the Middleton train there, but Eagle flexed their muscles and showed they were clearly the best team.
Oh, yeah, and congratulations to head coach Jeremy Monroe at Eagle, who was at Jerome with me. He was my JV coach when I was a varsity coach, and watching him, and I was there, and as were you, and watching him get that first title, pretty exciting. And it was funny because after the game, he called me, and we were on a 3-way conversation with me and Jeremy and Brent Clark, who was kind of, Brent and I started coaching together at Jerome in '93, and we had coached boys varsity, girls varsity, and whatever. And we just had started to kind of have a coaching tree underneath us when you're there that long. And Jeremy was part of that coaching tree. And so, it wasn't an hour after it was over that he had us on the phone together, 3 of us. And he was just kind of thanking us for teaching him and mentoring him and, showing him the way and all those kind of cool things. And it really spoke to the personality, of Coach Monroe, just to take the time to do that, because he could have made it all about himself. He didn't need to do that, but he did, and I thought that was super, super cool.
So what I heard is basically you're responsible for Eagles championship this year.
No, he succeeded despite all the crap that I tried to teach him.
Yeah.
It
was a great season for Coach Monroe, certainly, and he is slated to coach in the statewide all-star basketball game this weekend as well, or next weekend in Coeur d'Alene. So high honor for sure. 5A state tournament. Scott, this was the tournament you were broadcasting. Pocatello runs it back. Abby Lusk, the senior from Gonzaga, takes an entirely new group of varsity players and kind of gets them across the finish line. They go back to back. They beat Sandpoint in the championship. They beat the number 1 seed Lakeland in the semis by 7. In terms of Magic Valley performers, though, Scott, Jerome was the only team there. Mountain Home kind of surprisingly lost that play-in game to get to state, to Hillcrest. And so Mountain Home wasn't there. We thought they would be. And then Jerome ends up, losing right away to Pocatello by only 8. So losing by 8 to the eventual champs is not too bad. And then they absolutely blister Columbia, and they win a nail biter against Bishop Kelly. Anytime you can beat BK, that's a nice day. And Jerome comes home with that 4th place trophy.
Yeah, it was an emotional weekend, to say the least. It's not a secret anymore, but the Friday prior to going to state, we found out that the husband of our head coach was diagnosed with cancer, and stage 4 cancer. And so it's like, this is supposed to be this wonderful time for our head coach and the girls and everything else and this community. And here's one of our leaders and it was a kid that I coached back in the day, who's now a city administrator. And so anyway, the whole team kind of rallied around, and there's all these little like bracelets, Fight Like Mike, just showing support. And so this tournament was extremely, emotional, especially for our coaching staff and our players, because, I can't imagine going through what our head coach had to go through, trying to focus in on a tournament and keep her girls focused, meanwhile having all of that going on. But it's a huge, huge testament to, our community, that team, our coaching staff, able to keep it together and come home with a state trophy for the 2nd year in a row. So, man, but that's stuff that's going on behind the scenes that, people didn't know about.
Yeah, pretty remarkable with all that going on, for sure. So, and our thoughts and prayers are certainly with Coach Williams and her family at this time.
For sure.
So, the 4A tournament, Scott, we had Kimberly and we had Filer. We talked about going in. Kimberly was the district champ, and yet they were seated below Filer. I guess Kimberly proved that they were the best team, because they also came home with a 4th place trophy. They had to play Sugar Salem right out of the gates. They lost. Filer lost to Bear Lake. And then Filer dropped the loser out game to Weiser. Kimberly beats Fruitland, beats them pretty bad. And then they defeat Weiser in that consolation final. And so Kimberly, the number 8 seed, comes home with the 4th place trophy and says, Max Preps, you done messed up.
Well, that whole mess with Kimberly and Filer lasted all year long. There was all this talk about, okay, so when you make a schedule, are you trying to schedule teams that are going to be above your classification and help your Max Preps rankings, or are you going to schedule teams that are maybe a classification below you so you can pad your win column? It's kind of one of those deals. Well, this was an absolute case study in this, because Kimberly went one way, Filer went the other. And Kimberly scheduled a lot of 5A teams and took their lumps, but they got better. But in the interim, still beat Filer handily by 20 plus every time they played. Okay. Filer goes the other way and schedules a lot of kind of lower teams, and then they finish with like a 17-3 record or something versus a 12-10. Okay. So which one is better? Because when you looked at the Max Preps rankings, they were right next to each other for the longest time. And I don't think they ever separated themselves by more than 1 or 2. And so it kind of leads you to the question is, what do you do at that point? Because, scheduling becomes such a huge thing, because everybody's got it in their head that, hey, we got to schedule this team because it's going to help our Max Preps. And it's like, well, why don't you just stop worrying about all this and then just go out and win and beat whoever's on your schedule, because a lot of times we don't have a choice of who we play, because, with all the locked districts, with Boise just kind of being landlocked, now Eastern Idaho is the same way. There's not a whole lot of wiggle room for a lot of these teams, so it really did become an interesting study, especially with those two. And then you look at what happened in the state tournament, and nothing against Filer, but they go 2-0, and they lose to Bear Lake and by 14, and then they get thumped by Weiser by 16, and Filer 7, Weiser 6. Well, Kimberly, on the other hand, yeah, they lose to Sugar, and who hasn't? And then they take care of Fruitland, who's 3 seeds ahead of them, but absolutely destroy them. So, I mean, you tell me, and they come home with a trophy. Sounds like another Max Prep story coming.
Yeah, well, we're working on that. We are. We've been teasing that for weeks. We are gonna pull that out at some point. We promise.
Yeah, but that was a really good indicator of kind of which way do you go.
Yeah.
But anyway, congratulations, Kimberly. But you can't mention Kimberly without saying, holy crap, what a tournament by Taya Plu.
Yeah.
I mean, 18 points in the opener, 33 against Fruitland, and then follow that up with 29 against Weiser. Holy crap, what a tournament. Congratulations to her.
Yep. Pretty awesome. Yeah, we should mention as we go along where everybody finished in terms of the all tournament team and all that stuff. I'll try to get that loaded up. Big storyline. First of all, Scott, you said East Idaho's landlocked, Boise's landlocked. North Idaho's always looking for games, Scott. We'll do the home and away. We'll come to your place. You come up here. We'll make it work.
Oh my gosh, it's getting to a point that we're looking at that a little bit, and you're seeing a few more Magic Valley teams do that. We're sending our boys soccer team up there for the second time in 3 years, to do a little North Idaho tour, and it's becoming more and more of a reality because of that those shifting conferences, and they don't need to go anywhere anymore, especially now that the 5As with Century and Pocatello and Preston and all those guys are now joining over here. It's like what they do is they have all their conference games, but they've only got X amount of non-conference, but they promise those to the 6As in the area, so they don't have to go anywhere. And so everybody is just kind of like down here going, all right, well, what do we do? Inter squad scrimmage, whatever. But yeah, it's really super interesting. But anyway,
last point for this, just for statewide fans. Sugar Salem came into that championship against Bear Lake, the only undefeated team left in Idaho, and they got smoked by Bear Lake. That was everybody was stunned when that went down as well. So congratulations to the Bear Lake Bears for winning the state championship over Sugar Salem there.
Yeah. Holy crap.
Yeah. Okay. We were talking about the all tournament teams. You mentioned it, Scott, for 4A. Taya Plu from Kimberly makes the first team. Brooklyn Verway makes the second team, also from Kimberly. And then Tanley Lemoyne from Filer made the third team there at the 4A state tournament. And then just backtracking to the 5A tournament, Jensen Cook from Jerome was the defensive MVP of the tournament. And then in terms of the second team, you had Sawyer Gerard from Jerome make the all-tournament team, second team there from Jerome. So congratulations to both of those young ladies there. 3A tournament, Scott. We didn't have anybody from the Magic Valley here, but we talked about Malad. That's the conference that Declo and Wendell were in, and Malad, as promised, delivered, just dominated everybody on their way to the championship. They beat Ambrose in the final. West Side, the other team that made it from that district, got all the way to the consolation final and almost beat Ryrie, but they end up finishing just one game short of bringing home a trophy here as well. But again, and I think next year now, because it's been fun to watch Declo and Wendell kind of go over and play in this conference with Malad and West Side and Aberdeen and Soda Springs. But I could be mistaken here, but I believe the plan is now with Buell moving down to the 3A level next year, they're going to just go back to being District 4. It's going to be Buell, Declo, and Wendell, and they're just going to do their own thing.
Yeah, and that makes it a whole lot easier for those schools around here, and they're not driving to Malad, who's halfway to Texas. It's just kind of one of those things that brings it a little bit closer to home, and it reminds me somewhat of when the Great Basin was the Great Basin 10, where there were 10 teams in the conference, and I mean it was Preston and Mountain Home were in the same conference, and it's like it takes 2 days to drive there. It takes 6.5 days by wagon, how do you put these guys in the same conference? It was a nightmare. And thankfully that didn't last too long, but this conference reminded me of that just a little bit, especially with the distance that people had to travel. So bringing it back a little bit local, that'll be fine.
We had reported on a previous show that Mountain Home was possibly going to join District 3, which makes sense geographically. They're a lot closer. That is no longer the case, right, Scott? They're going to stay in District 4.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the last I had talked to, it had been a minute, so I probably ought to follow up on this, is it kept going back and forth because they were waiting on a vote, and it was all but ratified except the vote was the final thing. And that was the last I had heard.
Okay.
The big thing was Buell going down. We knew that, Wood River's bouncing all over the place in different sports. Mountain Home was, and if you probably have an insider track on it than I do at the moment, but yeah.
Well, I don't want to spread rumors, so I'll just we'll check officially maybe, and then we'll circle back on this and see what's going on with that. You can put that on your to-do list.
Yeah, well, I make a quick text right now. We're going to find
maybe
out.
Yeah, Adam Schefter is going to get to the bottom of this before the show's over. So while Scott's doing that, we will show you the 2A girls state basketball tournament. This is the tournament I was broadcasting. We had Oakley, the defending state champions. Just the only representative from the Magic Valley this year, because Raft River had to play Prairie in a play-in game, which most years that'd be like a state semifinal. But
right.
Hey, you know what? District 3 got 3 teams, and that was so much fun. So Oakley, they got to the semifinals against Lapway, Scott, and this was an absolute battle of a game. Oakley had the 2-point lead with 8 seconds to go. Lapway did not have any timeouts. Their best player had just fouled out, Skyland Picard, and so they basically have to inbound the ball off of they have to rebound the ball off of a missed free throw and go. Nobody's got any timeouts. Their point guard, Madden Bisbee, she drives to the lane. She is fouled with 2 seconds left on the clock. She's got to make both free throws to tie the game. Nails them both. The game goes to overtime, and Oakley just runs out of gas. Lapway hit a couple of threes to open up overtime, and so they get that win in the semis, 58-51. And then the next day, this was a game a lot of people were saying could be the championship, 1 and 2, Butte County and Oakley. And again, Butte County had rested their players a little more than Oakley had throughout the tournament, and so I think they were just a little bit more fresh. Plus, Oakley had to play the very late semifinal that went to overtime. So Oakley just ultimately ran out of gas, and they end up finishing basically 4th overall. They fall in that 3rd place game. But I was very impressed by the Lady Hornets and Coach Kristen Jones. I know we did a deep dive on them early in the season, but, man, they were a fun team to watch at state.
Oh, they were. And they just, unfortunately, had the worst draw of the teams they had to play and the times they had to play them. I mean, fine, they open up with Liberty Charter. That's great. 7:00 at night. The next day, 7:00 versus Lapway. And that's a grind no matter how that turns out, but it goes into overtime. And now you're like, oh my gosh, we're gassed. Oh, we just lost a heartbreaker in overtime. What? We got to play at noon the next day against who? Butte County? Are you kidding? And now they've got to summon that up in just a short turnaround time. And, and sometimes people just don't understand how hard that is. It's not just a physical thing. It's a mental thing. And we talk about it all the time. You lose that semifinal, especially in heartbreak fashion. How quickly can your body and your mind turn around and play right away? And, they did. They played well. They did everything that they could. But just unfortunately it wasn't enough. And they had some really good standout performances. Taylor Beck played really well. Burlingame played well. So they had some good performances. Even Kendall Jones dumped in 11 in the 3rd place game. So congratulations to them.
Yep. Livy Burlingame made the all-tournament 1st team. Taylor Beck and Addie Masita were both the all-tournament 2nd team there for Oakley. So one comment in the chat here. Oh boy. Still residual from our boys basketball preview show, Scott. This guy got more shout outs than anybody, including from you. So I think you've kind of become an extended member of the Miller family here. Let's go, Maddox Miller from Garden Valley, Scott.
It's a running kind of it's a running bit now. It's funny how these things develop, but I'm pretty sure we haven't seen the last of that one either.
No.
And I'll share a fun fact with you too. So I teach dual credit IDLA classes as well. Maddox is in my class.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, he's in my class. But the thing is, it was like I didn't even put two and two together when we were doing the sports show, and I'm watching all of this come by with Maddox. I'm like, it can't be, And so I just popped it in my little comment, and it was just like, yeah, that is him. And then I got an email from him. It says, hey, thanks. Hey, Mr. Burton, thanks for the shout out, And I'm like, hey, good luck, man. Kick some butt, whatever. So it's been a really cool rapport that way. But that little thing, Go Maddox Miller, it might become a recurring bit. I don't know.
The last bit we had that really took off was the year of the musher. That year for Camas County. I think they actually made T-shirts that said that on there, maybe. So that was
look what we started. And we did that.
Right. We'll talk about Maddox Miller and the Garden Valley boys here in just a second. But first, the 1A girls tournament, Scott, just to wrap up our girls basketball coverage. Carey was the 3 seed. Dietrich was the 7. They ended up having to play each other in a loser-out game because Carey got knocked off by Nez Perce, the upstart Nez Perce Nighthawks, the 6 seed. They got all the way to the championship in this bracket. Carey lost by 5 right away. They beat Dietrich in the loser-out game, and then they just stomp Rockland in the 3rd place, or in the consolation game as well. So Carey coming home with the trophy from state as well. That was nice to see.
Yeah, congratulations to them. But the thing that jumps at me at this bracket is you had 4 playing 6 in the title game. Well, maybe they weren't seeded right. I have no idea. But Carey, that was a surprising loss in the opening round. And then, a lot of times when you see a team get upset in the opener, they can't recover mentally in the second game. But, they did. And, fortunately for them, it was Dietrich who they know really, really well. And they were able to get through that. And then, of course, Rockland in the consolation final. And they put 3 players in double figures in that final game with the Simpson girls 16 and 14 each, and then Jocelyn Ruiz added 10. So I mean, they saved a really good performance for the last one.
Yeah, and Rockland was the defending state champions, so to beat them in that consolation final was pretty darn impressive. You mentioned the Simpson cousins, Allie and Andy. They each made the all-tournament 2nd team, and Dietrich's Ada Bingham made the all-tournament 3rd team there. Okay. Boys basketball. Let's start 1A and work our way up because there were, again, no Magic Valley champions on the boys basketball side. But Maddox Miller and those Garden Valley Wolverines, they got all the way to the state championship and lost by a single possession to Rockland, 70-67. They had a chance. They had won a very tight semifinal with Water Springs, 60-56. Carey had made it to the semis as the 5 seed. They ran into a Rockland buzzsaw, and then they had to turn around and play Water Springs in the 3rd place game. They ended up losing that one as well. Dietrich was also at this tournament. They lose to Rockland right away, like everybody else did. And then they lost in overtime to Timberline from Weippe. That's a hard place to get to, but it's beautiful scenery up there in North Idaho. They lose in overtime 67-64. So Dietrich goes 2 and out. Carey gets to the 3rd place game, but falls. This was clearly kind of like a top 3 this year. Rockland, Water Springs, Garden Valley, and then a significant divide between the rest.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. And when Garden Valley knocked off Water Springs, I don't think anybody was like crazy surprised by that. I mean, this is a really solid Garden Valley team, led by who? Oh, Maddox Miller. Sorry. But yeah, and for them to get to the championship, really, it became a question of, is it going to be Garden Valley? Is it going to be Water Springs that's going to come out and play Rockland? Because I think everybody knew Rockland was going to get there, but could they give Rockland a game? And boy, did they ever. Like you said, 1 possession is all it was, to determine that 1A state title game. But what an impressive performance by, Garden Valley in the 3 spot to hang in there punch for punch with the heavyweight Rockland, who was a heavy favorite to win this thing.
4 of Garden Valley's 5 starters made the all-tournament team. Maddox Miller and Maxon Yearsley both on the 1st team. Will Coburn and Elijah Marchand on the 2nd team. in terms of Magic Valley athletes, because this isn't the Garden Valley Prepcast, this is the Magic Valley Prepcast.
You would think.
Right. Stockton Sears from Cary and Chase Norman from Dietrich both made the all-tournament 13. Boy, where have we heard those names before? Pretty much every other sport.
Yeah. It's funny how those small towns have the same names every year. Cousins, sisters, brothers, uncles. And this is no different.
Yeah. All right. 2A tournament, Scott. We had Murtaugh making their first trip to state in 15 years. That was kind of a big storyline. The Red Devils were the district champions. They won over Hagerman by 2 in a very close second and third place game to get to state.
Right.
Valley was the district champions. They built the North Star Charter right away by 5, 49-44. Then they had to play Grace, which again, probably underseeded as the number 8 seed. I mean, this is now a second number 8 seed that brought home a consolation trophy.
Yeah.
So Valley loses to Grace. Murtaugh defeated Rimrock 59-40. Then Murtaugh nearly won the consolation final. They only lost to Grace by a bucket, 53-51. So pretty good showing for Murtaugh. First time at state in a long time. And for Valley, they're kind of used to getting there the last couple of years under Coach Brian Hardy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Valley a little bit kind of disappointed to go 2 and out. I mean, there's only 2 teams in the tournament that go 2 and out. You don't want to be one of them. But you go back to Murtaugh and, what they were able to do in the 6th spot, especially against, Prairie playing Prairie tough. And then, Broxton Widmeyer, he's been the talk for Murtaugh. I mean, what a tournament he had. Had 14 in the opener, 21 in the second game, and then followed that up against Grace with 22, and they came that close, to bringing home a trophy. But, I mean, a really good season for Murtaugh.
Yeah, really fun. Broxton Widmeyer, as you mentioned, first team all-tournament. McCoy Jensen made the 3rd team all-tournament, also from Murtaugh, and Reese Balls from Valley was 3rd team all-tournament selection there. And, again, big storyline here, Kendrick. Everyone assumed they were just going to win the championship.
Yeah.
Lakeside takes them down 60-47. And this Lakeside basketball team, Scott, was battling food poisoning all weekend long. They were puking in between games. I mean, they had to sweat out tight games throughout. They beat Prairie by 5 in the semis with flu-like symptoms, and they did it, which is all the more impressive.
Oh boy, maybe their opponents knew about it and just wanted to keep their distance. I don't want to get thrown up on. Have the layup. I'm fine.
I was watching the Big Sky Conference Championship last night in men's basketball. I was
with Idaho.
In Boise as well. Yep, my Montana Grizz lost to Idaho, and Montana's best player and the leading scorer in the Big Sky Conference this year, Money Williams, he wasn't looking like himself out there. And then during the broadcast, they kind of let it drop that, yeah, he's been dealing with a stomach bug of some kind. I want to know, did Montana go to the same restaurant that Lakeside did when they were down in Boise? We got to get to the bottom of this, Scott.
Well, he's got to channel his inner Jordan, kind of have the flu game, if you will. And that may have dated both of us a little bit, but maybe some of these kids remember Jordan in the flu game. But
Yes.
yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, you feel like crap, man. It's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah. 3A championship, Scott. This was the closest anybody got from the Magic Valley. Wendell came in as the defending champions.
Yeah.
They had beaten Soda Springs. They had beaten New Plymouth. They got to the championship against St. Mary's, the number 1 overall seed. They end up falling 50-43 in a really fun, affair. But St. Mary's kind of led this one from the jump. And Wendell, tried to climb that mountain a couple of times and just could never quite get back into the game. And then this, just in general, St. Mary's, this was to me the story of the weekend at state. Their coach, Brian Chase, he's been there for 12 years now. He's taken the team to state 11 of the 12 years. He's taken them to the semifinals 11 of the 12 years. He has been diagnosed with cancer and has been battling it all season long. His doctor told him, you probably shouldn't be coaching just, for your overall health. They made a special stool for him so he didn't have to squat down to talk to the players during timeouts anymore. He could be a little more comfortable, and to come through and win this championship while going through cancer treatments and all that as well. It was just a remarkable story.
Yeah. And my goodness, what do you say? There's just nothing. Cancer sucks, period. So big, huge kudos to him for hanging in there. And, what, as much discomfort as I'm sure that was, his players looked at that as like, we ain't got it so bad. We can fight through just about anything. And so that what that probably did is going to last a long time with those players.
Yeah, that's one they'll not forget anytime soon. That's for sure. So Wendell did just about pull off the two-peat, but they could not do it. So Martin Nava was the defensive MVP of the tournament for Wendell. Jonathan Swainston made the all-tournament first team. Jet Jasper made the second team, and Jarrett Borges and Jordan Swainston each made the third team for Wendell there. So congratulations to the Trojans. 4A tournament, Scott Gooding was here for the first time in a long time, and unfortunately went 2-out. But I mean, look at the two losses here. They lost to Bonners Ferry, who got all the way to the championship. They lost to them by a bucket, 62-60. They lost to Filer in the loser out game by just 6. That had to be nice for Filer to get a little revenge on Gooding. And then Filer only loses the consolation final by 3 to Marsh Valley, 57-54. So this also was like fairly close throughout for both Filer and Gooding.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it was, and it's just unfortunate they had to be on the same side of the bracket, because when they met in that loser out game, at that point, they know each other so well. Records are out the window, and it was Filer's time. Cash Palmer had a really good tournament for Filer, and you look at Bridger Pope, for Gooding, to 28 in the opener, 15 against Filer. There's some really good players, with those two, and Bryker Dallington, he had a good game, 17 against Marsh Valley. So I don't know. I mean, it was a good year for both of them.
Yep. Cougar Stockham from Gooding was the defensive MVP of the tournament. You mentioned Bridger Pope from Gooding made the second team all tournament, and Bryker Darrington from Filer made the third team all tournament for the 4A. 5A, Scott, this is where Twin Falls was representing along with Burley. Burley went 2-out. They fall to Lewiston, who gets to the championship by just 5 in the first game, 60-55. This was a fairly competitive tournament top to bottom. Then they have to turn around and play an absolutely scorching Valley View team in the loser out game. Valley View sets a new state record for the classification with 94 total points. But Burley put up 72. I mean, this was just a track meet back and forth. And then you look at Twin Falls. They fall to the eventual state champions, Bishop Kelly, by only 3 in that first game, 49-46. Bishop Kelly, their defense was the story of the tournament. They really took Trey Billings out of what he wants to do with the basketball, and that was the key there. And then Twin Falls beats Bonneville, and then they beat Valley View to bring home the consolation trophy. And then Bishop Kelly, by a point, knocks off Lewiston. They were up by 19. Mm-hmm. Lewiston came all the way back, had a chance to take the lead with free throws late, could not. Had a chance to take the lead with a jumper late, could not. Bishop Kelly kind of survived by the very seat of their pants here. But overall, pretty competitive tournament, and Twin Falls comes home with the consolation trophy.
Well, yeah, I mean, Twin Falls, for the second straight year, was underseeded.
Big time.
That happened last year, and I think they were 7 last year, and played number 2 Lewiston and took them out behind the woodshed in the first round. And everybody's like, what in the world is going on? Well, here we go again, number 6, and they're going against Bishop Kelly, who eventually won it. But, you look at that first game with Bishop Kelly, Twin was their own worst enemy. They shot 7 of 20 at the free throw line. You're not going to win many games doing that. And, they were only 33% from the field, even though they stopped Billings. My goodness, you missed 13 opportunities at the foul line, and you lose by 3. You don't have to look far to see what went wrong there, and then they kind of bounced back against Bonneville, like you said, and took care of business there rather handily. And then Valley View, who absolutely dismantled Burley with 94 points. Are you kidding me? Defense optional in that game. It was like a pickup game on the playground where nobody plays defense, or you're LeBron. And you play Valley View, who had to cool down, you would think, and they were able to get by them and claim a trophy from the 6th spot. So, yeah, congratulations to them.
Yeah, Ethan Hubsmith from Twin Falls was the 6th man of the tournament. Trey Billings made the first team all-tournament for Twin as well. Ty Hess was a 2nd team all-tournament. I was really impressed with how he commanded the floor. He, to me, was the guy that kept it together because Billings was in and out of the lineup. And then for Burley, Nash Gillette made the 3rd team, and oh my gosh, what an athletic freak he is. He can jump out of the gym.
Yeah, this kid is something else to watch, and if he would have gotten a 3rd game, who knows, at that point, because we're in the same boat when we have to choose these things. It's like, yeah, you got this team that just went 2-out, but you didn't get that 3rd game. But 21 in the first, 21 in the second, this kid is a freak, and boy, can he jump. He's fun to watch. So
pretty legit.
There's some good things happening for Burley, and definitely some good things happening for Twin, especially when you've got a lot of youth. And there's some of those kids coming back. And you talked about Billings, he's an underclassman, so we'll see some of these kids again.
Yeah, he might be the best player in the classification next year for sure. I mean, he's on the short list, no doubt. All right, Scott, and then the 6A tournament. This is where you were at. This was everybody was going for Lake City in this championship. Everybody is tired of Hawaii winning. And Lake City came through and delivered. We didn't have any Magic Valley teams here, and this just looked like it was going to be the grand parade for Hawaii. Hey, just give them the trophy. Why do they even have to show up? And Lake City, the only times that Hawaii has not won the championship since they opened as a school, it's been Lake City both times that have won it in the year where Hawaii was supposed to. So, yeah,
boy, what a tournament this was. And, we saw, or at least, when I was calling this, when Lake City beat Centennial, Clay and I turned to each other and go, if they play like this tomorrow night, they got a shot at beating Hawaii. It's still that huge kind of underdog situation, but they had a shot. And, when you factor in the dominance of Hawaii, 92-5 against Idaho teams, since the school opened. Well, now they're 92-6.
Right.
So that is the dominance. And they lost to one team all year from Idaho, and that was Meridian. But all their losses are from teams from Arizona, California, Hawaii, where they went to a Hawaii tournament. I mean, my goodness, this is a juggernaut of a program in Hawaii, and Lake City was having none of it. And they controlled it from the start. It got close at the end. But, man, what a great game to call. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Josh Watson, cousin to Anton Watson, former Gonzaga standout, really delivered for Lake City in that championship game for sure. So. All right, Scott. Well, that is this show went a little longer than usual because we had to cover all the winter sports championships. We'll be in a more modified, more slimmed down version next week, talking some of the big spring sports headlines from the early spring. Hopefully there's actual things to talk about. It seems like we're always, this got postponed and this got postponed. And up here in North Idaho, Scott, our opening day of competition yesterday wiped out because of rain.
Really?
So, yep.
Oh, man, it's been gorgeous down here. It is going to be, we have a day next Wednesday, supposed to be in the 80s down here.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, right. Which doesn't necessarily mean that the third winter won't happen the following week, because we've seen that before as well. So, but yeah, for right now, it's all systems go. Everything is moving according to plan, which is an absolute anomaly down here.
That's awesome. Well, here is Debbie Coons-Keach in the chat. She threw this in at the beginning of the show, but I wanted to wait till the end to show this. So glad that Scott's thoughts are back. Yes, that's right, Scott. This is something that we did last season where each week I kind of gave you a topic to kind of pontificate on, give us your thoughts, your kind of a commentary, if you will, on different topics. We covered things like how to be accountable to your teammates, how do you persevere when you've got nothing left in the tank, how do you go to a live sporting event and just enjoy it and be in the moment and not be on your cell phone. Just a wide range of topics. You never know what we're going to dive into. And Scott spends 10 to 15 minutes or so kind of dissecting the topic and giving us his thoughts on it. And it was really popular. A lot of coaches then used what you said as kind of like inspirational material, and you kind of became a guru of sorts. So
was a lot of fun. I have a lot of opinions. So,
That's right.
and it's fun. The cool thing about that is that, and it's just experience talking. I'm not right about everything, but I do have my thoughts on everything. And having been in having played sports in high school and college, and then started coaching, varsity sports in, 33 years ago, that there's a lot of experience there. And it's the same stuff that I try to share with my coaches too, but it's just a different format. And I don't know, it was a lot of fun, and it took off a lot more than I ever thought it would. And took a little break, but kind of a cool little segment to resurrect. And if those, want to see what we did before, they're all on our YouTube channel. Go back and check them out.
Yeah, there is a playlist of Scott's thoughts videos you can go to and check those out. So Scott, I always give you the topic at the end of the show, and then you have a week to basically write down your thoughts, and then you'll deliver it next week. So are you ready for your first topic of Scott's thoughts?
Let's go. Let's do this. What do you got?
Well, we just recently had the Winter Olympics. We're right smack dab in the middle of the World Baseball Classic. So I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on pride? Pride in your country, pride in your community. We've seen with the Winter Olympics, some athletes were really proud to be representing the United States of America. Some athletes used the opportunity to say, I'm not really proud of the United States of America politically, because there's some things going on. There is, outside of the political arena, like the U.S. men's hockey team kind of took it from one side of the aisle because they showed up to the State of the Union address. So there's the political component to it, but then there's also, like, if you think about the World Baseball Classic, Tarek Skubal, probably the best pitcher in baseball, along with Paul Skeens, he was pitching for Team USA. Well, he made one start, and then he said, hey, my obligation is to the Detroit Tigers, and so I'm going to leave the team in the middle of the tournament. And he's taken a lot of flack for that. So where's the line? Now people are saying, well, you're not really, proud to be on Team USA because you wouldn't have left the team in the middle of the competition. And so he's taken a lot of flack. So just in general, kind of that pride for your country, but then at a micro level here in Idaho, pride for your community.
Ooh.
Representing that. So.
Okay, cool. I got a few thoughts buzzing around. So I'll go to work on that and have something for you next week. And I will say this, next Thursday, when we shoot this, I'm going to be in Costa Rica. So you're going to get it from a beach in Costa Rica.
Okay. Even better.
We did it one time where I was on a carriage in New Orleans going through Bourbon Street, We did it at a time where I was at Venice Beach going to a Rams game, and I had a rainstorm behind me. So we've done a few things like that. This is going to be another one.
Okay. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that, Scott. That's going to be a lot of fun. What time zone are you going to be in?
That is a really good question. I think actually seeing you're in Pacific time.
Yeah.
It'll be, I think, 2 hours ahead of you, because I think where I'm at is in Central time.
Yes. Central time. Okay. Good to know.
Yeah. So that'll be 2 hours ahead, 3:30, carry the 1, divide by pi. That's going to be like, what, 1:30 your time?
Yeah, we can do it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. But we'll be in touch by then. We'll make sure.
Yeah, we'll get that all buttoned up on the back end for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll talk to my contacts in Costa Rica and make sure we're still good to go.
Yeah. Would you? Thanks.
Yeah. I like it. I like the topic. I think there's a lot of relevance to it, in a lot of different areas.
Yep. So
perfect.
Okay. Well, on that note, I know Scott's probably got to get back to that softball game. So good luck.
My daughter has a musical tonight too. So I have to go to a softball game and then head to a junior high musical.
What's the performance? What's the show?
I don't know.
Okay.
That'll be know. It's like a medley of things. Nothing like crazy popular. She told me, I didn't recognize it. And I'm like, okay, I will be there regardless.
I would like your critics review of the performance on next week's show also.
Yeah. I better not say things like ballet and opera nobody pays attention to. Isn't that what Timothy Chalamet's done? And he's all of a sudden in a whole lot of trouble. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that'd be a whole different Scott's thoughts. So, all right.
Oh boy. Yeah. or
Yep.
thoughts about Scott.
Yeah, that's a more appropriate. Yes.
Oh, for sure.
All right.
So,
Well,
excellent.
Scott, enjoy the musical tonight. Enjoy the softball as well. Enjoy the competition, everybody. As you're traveling, please do so safely. And we will see you back here next week for another edition of the Magic Valley Prepcast live on IdahoSports.com. Thanks for watching.